and we actually had a educator come sit down with us. Ron is actually a behavioral specialist at a school.
I could tell that about him.
Yeah, he beats up behavioral problem kids, and
It's the best way to handle it, I think.
yeah, tons of stories of
Duct tape.
choking and slamming, a lot of like suplexing. Apparently, he's a big
And
WWE.
a lot of
fan
I can't
back in the day. I
breathe
don't know.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like, come on, Mr. Ron, like you don't got to choke me like that type of stuff. No, but I got deep into I'm maybe anti-education. I dropped out of college. I don't love the idea of formal education, right? So then as I get older, I have kids. That
And
obviously
you're
becomes
like,
an interesting thing. It's like, all right, well, shit, am I going to stand on the shit
but
I
to
said?
then, never let school interfere.
Exactly. That's the quote we have from when we had the teacher come.
But I think
yeah, it's good.
But I think that that's a fair call out. I don't know that school is for everybody. One of the things I've learned in advertising, like I did a project for skilled labor,
Yeah.
like construction.
Yeah.
plumbers.
Vocation.
We're not going to have enough of those fucking people.
Because everybody thinks that to become elite, you have to get this formal
And
education.
I thought that too. And like now I went back and told my kids, I'm like, maybe you shouldn't go to college. If you became a plumber right now, you would be so
right
rich.
now,
Yeah.
so rich. Oh my God, Josh.
Yeah.
So it's to the point where like my wife won't let Jay's got some college shit this weekend, tomorrow actually.
Yeah.
And we got to split up in the morning because Max got a basketball game.
Divide and
I'm like,
conquer.
I can take Jay to the. She's like,
You're like, no,
you're like,
that's not
you
your job.
here like, hey, this is some bullshit. Like, you don't want to come here, son. Like, you can start working right now. You can start a business right now. And that's what I'm on though, because not only that, like, college is not for everybody. I'm almost wondering if it's for anybody. Like, I think that the purpose of it is to drive everybody in the same direction. They need you to fit in this system. We need an upper class, middle class, lower class.
But if we don't have it again, if you don't have a structure, like what is there? I mean, like
life, just real life and real production.
That's the problem. I just don't know if everybody would understand that. But
why not? How old do you think public education is, Josh?
Pretty old.
It's not 125 years. Before 1909, I think, and I have the note somewhere, nobody went to school. Nobody.
Not even the little like
classrooms. Nobody. That's all brand new. We think it's that old. We think that.
Well, how the fuck do people learn to read and write?
From their parents who learned to read and write. And then here's the thing.
Is more like
learning to read and write wasn't that big.
You're sitting there with
it became. So we adopted our education system from a place called Prussia that no longer exists. It used to be a part of Russia.
Yep.
Prussia was apparently this place back in the day that had this war, and they got obliterated. And the reason they felt like Prussia was a culture of like learning and elegance and progression and free thinking and all of this shit. And they thought once they lost that war, they're like, oh, these people don't listen to us. Like, we need people to follow our direction.
So that's what. So the whole point of school was to teach rhetoric that keeps you in line.
Exactly. They wanted to take the free thinking out. And here's an interesting stat for me, right? By 1900, Chris, what's up, man? How you doing, man? What up, though? Hey, it's a big time for the city, man. Where you at? Where you at on Sunday? Right. I'm probably at the crib too. I'm too scared to like watch it with people, so I'm like only watching it with I stay home. I stay home and like cried at night once we won, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I want to mess with it.
No, I don't want to mess it up, man. I don't want to mess it up. There's some beers in there, man. We're recording. Do it, man. Do it. So by 1900, Prussia, or every PhD in America was trained in Prussia. 100% of the people who obtained a PhD in America.
That's interesting.
It's our whole education system. And then if you look at the root of it, all of these powerful nations, all of these people that like come from all of these different places, they went to Prussia to train. And it became very evident to me, like, yo, they're teaching people how to like nation build. And all of these have like very Germanic, like Hitler roots to it, right?
Yeah.
Like this is all mind control shit. All of this stuff kind of fills into it. So then when people are like, yo, what would we do if we didn't have education? I'm always like, We do what we did 100 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Like people grew up with their family.
So I mean, again, I guess before schools, it was more of a cottage industry. You would
Of
learn
course.
the profession of your.
Because that's what's
Of your
important in life.
parents.
You
Yeah,
think, like,
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
geometry and
Yeah, yeah.
algebra is important in life.
But you
I think
only
that
learn
we-
that as things to get by. Like I think
Exactly.
school just teaches you how to live your life. Because another thing,
You think? Wait. You think school teaches you how to live?
no, I think
Okay.
that's what
That's what
like
they tell
these
us.
things. Like when you learn math, like is there a world in which you're just should you be learning just the practical skills? Or like-
Absolutely.
yeah.
That is the only
Yeah.
world. I think the reason we have to live in this world is because society needs you. Society needs your parents to work. They need parents to work
For sure.
to feed the system.
Yeah.
Where are kids going to go if parents have to go to work
I
all
agree.
day?
That's what I'm saying. Like
So,
you
like,
have to. It was almost like what I said to you the other day when I'm like, now that there's ice on the roads, and then they're like, sorry, parents, stay home with your kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're fucked.
exactly. You're fucked because
Actually, yeah, school became almost like the what do you call it? Like the place
the
to
nannies,
drop
the
your
nursery.
kids off.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
nursery.
exactly.
So everybody could still work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it always has been. And they feed it as this like what bothers me, and this happens a lot in like the black community separately,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's a level of elitism that comes with like obtaining a college degree or like getting to a certain level of higher education,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, oh, like I'm better than you because I have this piece of paper, right? And that causes so much turmoil like within shit. I feel like a lot of people look at each other like and they judge like your
sure.
the caliber of your character.
Or even where you went to school.
Yeah. Oh, you went to that state school? Like all of this shit.
No,
like, oh, you
it's
didn't go
crazy, yeah.
Ivy League? Like all of these things just to like put us on different levels, just
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
separate people into different groups. And all of those people, fucking scholars don't make any money. Like it's the people who make money in this crazy place are like the crazy dudes who Jerry Jones is not. I can guarantee you, Jerry Jones wasn't a good student.
No.
He's
Well, I
a
mean,
billionaire.
yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well,
So
or you look at what's the guy with dyslexia that David Geffen started Virgin Airlines.
oh yes.
Super cool guy. Like,
Come on.
and I
You're not
remember
gonna tell me
watching.
he was a good
I
student.
remember I watched a documentary about him and about dyslexia. Cole, my oldest, is dyslexic,
Mm.
and it was like 2:00 in the morning. I was watching this documentary. I woke Cole up. And this when he was still a little kid in school.
Yeah.
You've got to come watch this.
Yeah.
Because I wanted him to understand that just because your brain doesn't look like everybody else's
Yeah.
or it sees things differently, it's like, how do you utilize it? But to your point, I think, I grew up and I thought I had to be a doctor, a lawyer, or this or that.
What'd your mom do, by the way? Sorry to
My
interject.
mom, she would do different jobs. My mom's a crazy alcoholic.
Was she? Oh, but she
she's-
divorced your dad.
Yeah,
right?
but she's
Okay.
super fucking. I mean, like my mom is a genius. Like,
Gotcha,
really
gotcha.
smart. She was the first woman to go to Sewanee, the University of the South.
Yeah.
But she's got some issues.
I get it.
But
I was only asking because you were about to talk about like the pressure of like excelling.
yeah, but I mean, I did that.
academically.
Like I went to those private schools. I went to boarding school. I was told I was supposed to do these things. But to your point, and that's why I'm saying, like, but there's a part of me that felt like I should be making T-shirts in the van.
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
I'm more of an artist than this. And because of that background in school, I've never allowed myself the freedom to be what I want to be because to my dad and to everybody, I would seem like a failure.
Yeah.
And that voice is now what I hear in myself.
Ah,
So
shit.
like cause I'll like that book I told you, like I get 230 pages into it and then I start going like, if I can't monetize this, then what's the point? Like everything to me becomes this, my ability to make money and provide.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if that's what I was meant to do. I mean, obviously it is. I mean, we're all here.
But wait, no, why?
But
Why is that
provide for our
obvious?
family? Like I think,
Yeah.
I mean,
But monetarily though, because in a simpler world, in a simpler place, being able to kill a piece of meat and serve it, like that's providing for your family.
yeah, exactly.
But in America, like you got to buy a big house,
Yeah.
and you got to buy your kids nice shit, and they
Yeah.
got to get
Go
a
to
car
the-
when they're
and go to the
16.
right- yeah,
like that's
exactly.
our
I
idea
agree.
of providing for our family. But I wonder if that's just like blown way out of proportion.
No, and I agree with you. But that's but that's the zeitgeist of society. That's where that's where we are. Like, and it's I guess that's the thing. It's almost like you're on the ride, and it's like you have to follow what society is doing, or how do you get off that course? You know, without, because I think about that with school, like you're saying, like there's, and I look at students, like all these different kids, and we try to create these environments where everybody can thrive, but like, is that feasible? We don't have enough money to make.
Yeah.
So it's like we have this public school system, which is trying to provide a one size fits all for a problem that's not a one size fits all.
Yep.
But how do you pay for, like, one of my kids has ADHD, like he's like
He doesn't though.
Paideia is the perfect place.
I agree.
If he had gone,
You got to go private,
if
right?
he had gone to a public school, I think Milo could have gone to a public school. And
I
he'd
think
have
my kids could go
been
to a public
fine.
school, but I don't know if you would have wanted to send your kids to, like, that's where I'm at. It's not a matter of like, will they succeed or not in public school? It's like, what will they gain in public school?
But I don't like, because there was a point where I said to Milo, I'm like, if you want to go to Grady, I would consider it. But Milo's that kid that could do that. Like Cole, I felt like he needed Paideia, or they would have been like, you're the, or if me, like I needed a place like Paideia where, because I was more of a wild man, and probably, you know, if I was at a public school,
Yeah.
I would have gotten in trouble.
Are you putting this into a context, Josh, where like you're just assuming that everybody has to go to school?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like,
well, there is no other option.
but that's kind of where I'm at.
It's not even legal. If
I think
you couldn't legally, if you were to say,
that's
I'm not going to
why
send my kid to school,
that's
they
the
would
scariest
fucking lose
part
their
for me.
mind.
That's the scariest part for me. And it started out, like I told you, I think I got to pull a notes up. Like the earliest, here you are. All right. Massachusetts passed the first compulsory school in 1852.
Right.
New York followed the next year. And by 1918, all American children were required to attend at least elementary school. Next came the movement to create equal schooling for all American children, no matter their race. So we think of it as like this prehistoric way that like everybody went to school.
Yeah.
But 1918 was not very
Not
long
that far
ago.
ago. Yeah.
So we have this idea of just like, I think they've completely bamboozled a lot of people. And like, well, what else do we do? Somebody figured it out. Like a lot of people were figuring out what to do before 1918.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you're not going to tell me that everybody pre-1918 was stupid. Some of our greatest thinkers come from before that time, and now we know those people didn't get any formal education.
Yeah, but aren't we? I find this very interesting. But but as we evolve,
Yeah.
and things get more complicated,
Yeah.
do you need more of an education? And I don't want to say school.
Yeah.
Do you
I don't think we've evolved.
No,
I don't think we've evolved
well, okay,
intellectually.
let's use medicine.
Yeah.
How the fuck could you be a doctor without? Well,
See,
I mean,
now
I guess
you're going down a whole nother road. I don't know if I believe in Western medicine.
well, that's. I mean, okay,
Yeah, I
but
think
there's got to be something.
but you're talking about learning.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about I agree with learning. I think a person has to have a quest for learning,
where else
formal
do you learn?
education. Oh, everybody's figured it out. People have always written books before school came about. There were always books. There was always storytellers. There were always older people in your family that passed down stories.
Pass down the tradition.
Yeah, there's always an element of learning.
Yes.
Formal education in school is what I have a problem with.
I guess.
When you take this quote,
Yeah.
like I'll never let school interfere with my
agree with it,
education. Like when you take school and add it to the element, there's a level of control and a level of coercion there. Like I need you, when you get out of school, I need you to be doing this job and I need you to do this because that's the way our society keeps rolling. It's not about like your individual progression or your individual
If I think about
happiness.
school, it's probably what Freud said. It's like, it's the herd instinct. I mean,
exactly.
But again, but what other option is there? Because like we are
I got some options for you.
But hear me out, because are we so big that it's almost like we have to have some of these institutions or to give something to do? Otherwise, is everybody, and again, I'm just spitballing because I've never thought about some of this,
Yeah.
but I think it's a very interesting thing. But
Yeah.
what are you going to do with all of these? Because we've created a system, a society where it's a monetary society where you
Yeah.
have to have a certain amount of money to survive.
Yeah.
And
We innovate, Josh. If you think about it, if you put it on a timeline, most of our inventions that are like huge inventions that really shifted the way we think, the way we operate, the way we move in the world, they're all this pre 1918. All of that shit was invented a long time ago before formal education for everybody was a thing. So what I think that we end up doing when you take these institutions away is we go back to actually free thinking again, and we'll develop a whole new group of innovative people. We've taken innovation out of at least I'll just stay with America because I haven't looked into everybody else's education system. Although I do know most people have adopted that Prussian system.
yeah,
But I think we get to back to an innovative place. I think music and culture has a new renaissance. I think that inventions, just new things that are being invented, have a bit of a renaissance. All these people that
but I guess what I'm getting at is there probably always have been the intellectuals out there without school. Like, because I'm
Absolutely.
thinking about Plato, Aristotle, these
Yeah.
people.
no school,
They had to have, yes, but they had mentors. They did have school.
Yeah.
It's
they had
a
learning.
different kind
They had
of
learning.
school. But no, I think that the parents sent people, like back in the day, they had tutors, or you would have a what do you call the people that, not a nanny, but
like an understudy is the word
Yeah,
in
or
acting.
like-
It's called an apprentice.
or you would, or like these rich families in England, they would
Mm.
have a tutor come in and teach their kids.
What time frame are you talking? Are you
I
talking?
don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I think they've
But
done
again,
a
but
good
if we
job
go back
at-
to Aristotle,
Yeah.
like I think there were still people, there were teachers that you would go to
mentors.
for
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yes,
There were
absolutely.
sources of knowledge that was a different
And that was a
than a
one-on-one
school.
thing, though.
But I don't know. I think that there was something called the school, or the Plato had something, but it wasn't a school. I mean, it's people that thirsted for not. So almost
Not
what you're
until
saying is
college,
like,
though.
not everybody has to do this. It's like if I have a thirst for knowledge, then I might go find this guy
Yeah.
who is this.
And they didn't do that
And that's
until
a
they
different-
were
No, and
like adolescent or adults, right? My point is like to start a kid at 5 years old, 4 years old,
Yeah.
and say, hey, you got to go through this whole process, and then you go up like Galileo or like these
Yeah,
great thinkers that
yeah.
you're thinking about from before, Aristotle, all these people, they would have some type of like learning explosion renaissance in their
Yeah,
life, but
yeah.
it was like when they're 16, 17 years old, they go off and they work with the wisest man in
Yeah.
their village, and
Yeah.
they learn from him on a one-on-one level. This
Yeah.
idea that
And I agree with you.
everybody
That's what I
sits in a
meant, yeah.
room
Yeah.
and they like
Nobody learns the same.
nobody does.
And
That's where like
and again, as
to
somebody
even know
would,
that your kid
Yeah.
Cole wouldn't be diagnosed as dyslexic if it wasn't for public education,
Yeah.
right? Like some people's
'cause
brain
they would
naturally
be,
works like
they'd
that.
be like, why is this guy more of an artist, or this,
Exactly.
instead of point? But that's what I'm saying. Because we live in a world where we have to have a one system, or we have to have a system that everybody can fit into.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave any room for the outliers.
Individuality. Yes,
Or for
exactly.
and I totally 100% agree with that. And I think that's a very valid point. Like we talk about all these boys have ADHD now. Well, no, it's just
No.
the environment we've created for them.
Ah. You
because
know what
they're
happens
having
at
to
all
sit in
boys
the chair.
schools?
Huh?
You know what happens at all boys schools that's different than the school? You may know this. You went to, I don't know if you went to any all boy
I did.
boarding schools. All boys schools, they had a really big all boys school in Detroit called University of Detroit Jesuit.
Mhm.
They
Those
have
Jesuits
4
are
recess
some
periods per
serious
day.
dicks. Yeah.
4 recess periods per day at an all boys school, because people who run all boys schools
They know it.
understand
Yeah.
that little boys, unlike little girls, can't sit in their seat for 7 hours in a day and
exactly.
look at the
Yeah.
board. They
Yeah.
will go crazy.
Yeah.
So they let these kids go outside and run around
And that's
for a
what I
lot of
loved
time.
about Paideia is
Yeah.
hey guys, before class starts, y'all need to go fucking run around the school twice.
Some schools figure it
Yeah.
out, but those are the exceptions. Look how much
And that's
money
why
we
you're
pay for
paying-
Paideia.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, everybody can't afford to give their kid
Yeah.
that outlook, right? Some kids have to go sit in that seat for 7 hours, and then when they don't pay attention, now
They're
they have
getting
behavioral
yeah,
problems,
yeah.
or they have attention deficit disorder, or like when my brain clearly works backwards from what you're calling the normal brain.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said, I'm an artist. That's why God tweaked my brain that way, because He doesn't want me to see shit the way everybody else does.
But you're right. But I feel guilty because I don't fit into the norm of society.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because like how much of that is society or how much is my dad? Like I talk to my mentor all the time about. I'm like, I've got this critic in my head that's telling me, and I'm like, is that my dad or
is
your
dad
me?
still alive?
Yeah.
Got you.
And I love my dad now, but he's I mean, I've always loved my dad, but
that had to be tough though, being the type of person that you are, and him being the type of person he is.
Because he looks at me and I can tell he, wants me to have a traditional job, and I get it. And here's the real fucking kicker. So my dad finally retired, and now he's become this amazing watercolor artist. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Because like whenever
does he have a beard too?
No.
Oh,
my dad's dapper and looks.
Yeah.
He looks like the gentleman doctor.
I love it.
But yeah,
that is.
Like I can remember when I got out of advertising school.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example. My dad, I go, Dad, I got to go to New York. I got to fly up there and do that. And he's like, until you start wearing a coat and tie, I'm not paying for anything.
Ooh.
But I'm just telling you, that's the kind of.
Yeah.
And he means it's not because he's a dick. It's because he wants the best for me. But it's it's a very. For me, what I've realized, it's caused me big issues because if I do something creative and if it's not making money, then I feel like I'm just wasting time.
Ooh, that's deep. That's heavy. I've been there. My mom was I told you blue collar auto industry, but my mom went back to my mom and dad got married when they were very young. My mom was 20. I think my dad was like 23 at the time. And my mom dropped out of college right away. Like they started a family. They both like had good jobs. They had a decent life. My dad went down his crazy path with drugs and all that other shit. But like my mom was steadfast, right?
Yeah.
My mom was solid as a rock and always worked hard. And when she got to be about 30, I'm 10 or so, she decides to go back to college.
That's cool.
She got on government assistance. We moved into the projects in Detroit, and she went back to college. And we moved into the projects for 5 years. She finished school. We moved out, right? She bought a house right. So I've always been super proud of the way my mom handled it, right?
Yeah.
But I think because of that personal journey that she took, she saw college and higher education in such a high regard because of what it did for her life. She was just, and I was a good student.
It killed her.
It killed her. I was a great student. I was a straight A student my whole life.
Oh, so
teachers
killed her.
Yeah, teachers loved me.
Yeah.
I knew I thought I wanted to go to. I knew I didn't want to go to college in the back of my mind, but I thought I wanted to go to college.
Else? But I felt like at least at your age and mine, it's like what else? Yeah. There was no other option. I was supposed.
And she pushed so hard for it because of what she had been through, and then. When I decided, and I'm telling her I'm doing security at the club. I started a little security company. I started a little club promotion company. I'm doing concerts. I'm like, this school shit don't see. All my boys are in school all day and they're broke. I'm actually making money and meeting people that are putting me in positions to do things. I think I need to leave this school stuff alone. It broke her heart.
But again, I think it's different for everybody. And one of the things I like about you, I mean, you definitely have a hustle and an entrepreneurial spirit. But but again, and that's what should there be different schools like that, or you're right? Should you get rid of schools? But I feel like you need some sort of education to a certain point.
Well, why?
I feel like there's some fucking things you got to learn. Learn how to fucking read.
Well, you can learn that from you. You know how to read, so you can teach your kids how to read.
Yeah, but I mean, parents. Yes, you and I might.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of fucking parents who aren't.
Yeah.
So I mean, is having a system like that almost saving some kids from their systems?
I don't know, because I think we put that on such a high
parents
pedestal.
are working so hard. Imagine you're trying to work your ass off, and then you're going to come home and teach your kids how to fucking read and.
No, I get that, but that goes into it too, right? it takes the village aspect of raising kids out.
yeah.
Like if I'm a tree cutter and I
Yeah.
got a $1 million
So
a
you're
year
doing
business
that,
cutting
and you've
trees,
got somebody
I
else.
don't need to read a fucking book.
Yeah.
And I don't need to read a book to own the company, right? Like I
don't know that. I feel like there are certain things you have to have a. That's why I'm saying, like, is there a base level that just to make everybody?
There is a base level, but I just don't think you need to get it from school. I think that people figured out how to learn all of that basic shit on their own for a very long time. There's a billion stories of self-taught readers
And
in
you
the
know
world.
what? And maybe that's a fair point. It's
Yeah.
like either you teach yourself, to read,
Yeah. Or you
maybe
don't
you're-
need it.
or you're not the person that needs to be reading.
That's it.
There-
Like there's a ton of people who are self-taught readers. James Baldwin didn't learn how to read in school. He taught himself how to read. Like there are a ton of stories of people who don't need that formal, because here's where I think the big disconnect is like we can't say learning and gaining knowledge, furthering your knowledge without attaching school to it. I learn way more outside of school.
Yeah,
I would
you're-
never
yeah.
preach that people don't need to learn. I'm just saying you don't need a certified teacher who went to school and learned all of these things to teach you how to do those things, right? Like you have to learn. I think that's what the best part of human nature is like.
But the interesting thing to me about what you're saying, it's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like saying to the kid, like, all right, what are you interested in?
Yeah.
And then you find your